In a case that has stunned both Utah and the entire nation, the name Tyler Robinson has quickly become the center of breaking news headlines. But in a dramatic twist, investigators now say that the very person closest to him, his own roommate, may have handed over the key evidence that turned this investigation upside down. What we are about to explore tonight is more than just another crime story. It's a case filled with unanswered questions, chilling discoveries, and a series of digital messages that could expose both motive and intent. Did Tyler Robinson really leave behind a trail of evidence so striking that even those in his inner circle could not ignore it? And could his roommate's cooperation with the FBI reveal the most critical turning point yet in solving this shocking case? Stay with me, because in this video we're breaking down everything from the DNA discoveries to the inscriptions left on bullet casings to the online confessions that investigators say Robinson typed himself, and we'll dive into the mystery surrounding the roommate's role. Was it betrayal, or was it justice finally catching up? Before we begin, make sure you hit like, tap subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss the latest updates. Comment below with your thoughts and let us know where you're watching from. On the evening of the Utah Valley University event, what was supposed to be a routine public appearance by Charlie Kirk suddenly turned into a national headline. From the rooftop of a nearby building, a single shot was fired, and within moments, the story gripped every major news outlet in the country. Authorities quickly launched a wide-reaching investigation. Surveillance images, DNA evidence, and forensic analysis began to point in one direction: a 22-year-old Utah resident named Tyler Robinson. Just hours after investigators released photos of the suspect, Robinson surrendered to law enforcement in St. George, Utah, more than 3 hours from the site of the incident. Reports suggest his own father encouraged him to come forward. Now in custody and being held without bail, Robinson faces serious charges, including aggravated murder. The decision to keep him behind bars underscores how seriously the court is treating the evidence already presented. But here's the twist that stunned many. While forensic evidence provided one part of the picture, investigators say the digital footprint, a trail of online messages, may have provided the breakthrough. And according to multiple reports, these messages didn't surface on their own. They were handed over by someone who lived with Robinson, his own roommate. This revelation has shifted the spotlight onto the digital evidence, raising questions about what those messages contained and why the roommate chose to cooperate. So who is Tyler Robinson? At just 22 years old, Robinson was hardly a name known outside his local community. He lived in St. George, a quiet city in Washington County, Utah, nearly 3.5 hours from Utah Valley University, the site of the shooting that has now made him the focus of national attention. At the time of his arrest, Robinson was enrolled in an electrical apprenticeship program at Dixie Technical College. Those who knew him described him as someone leading an ordinary life, balancing his studies and his work while living with a roommate. Nothing, at least outwardly, suggested the type of dramatic turn that would land him in headlines across the world. Yet the image presented by investigators paints a very different picture. According to authorities, Robinson had been on the radar after forensic evidence and surveillance material tied him to the rooftop where the shot was fired. His surrender to law enforcement did not come as the result of a chase, but rather after his identity became public and after his own father urged him to come forward. Today, Robinson is being held without bail, facing some of the most serious charges under Utah law. Reports indicate that while he is in custody, he has not offered investigators full cooperation. No formal confession has been made, leaving prosecutors to rely heavily on the evidence collected so far. This gap between his seemingly quiet personal life and the serious accusations now leveled against him has left both investigators and the public searching for answers. How did an ordinary young man from St. George find himself accused in a case of this magnitude? When investigators began piecing together what happened on the day of the shooting, they didn't rely on just one clue. Instead, they uncovered a trail of evidence that, when combined, pointed directly to Tyler Robinson. One of the first discoveries was physical, DNA. Forensic teams found Robinson's DNA on a towel that had been wrapped around a bolt-action rifle. That same DNA also appeared on a screwdriver that was recovered from the rooftop where the weapon had allegedly been handled. This level of forensic connection made it extremely difficult for the defense to argue that Robinson had not been in contact with the weapon or the scene itself. Then came the inscriptions, words and phrases found on spent bullet casings left behind. Some of them read, "Hey fascists, catch," and "Bella Ciao." While investigators have not given these phrases an official interpretation, many analysts note that such inscriptions suggest personal or ideological expression. Prosecutors may later use these markings to argue intent, though at this stage they remain part of the broader puzzle rather than definitive proof of motive. Equally important were the digital traces. Authorities obtained Discord messages that, according to reports, Robinson sent to his roommate. In these messages, he allegedly described leaving a rifle in a bush, wrapping it in a towel, and other details that investigators say match the evidence later recovered. These communications became crucial in linking Robinson's private words with his alleged actions. Perhaps most striking is how the roommate cooperated with investigators. By sharing these Discord exchanges, the roommate provided law enforcement with a direct line into Robinson's thinking both before and after the incident. While the roommate has publicly denied knowing about the attack in advance, their cooperation became a turning point in the case. Taken together, DNA, weapon inscriptions, and digital communication, the evidence forms a layered narrative that prosecutors believe is strong enough to move forward with severe charges. Yet despite the weight of these findings, Robinson himself has remained largely silent in custody, leaving these pieces of evidence to do most of the talking for him. One of the most talked about aspects of this case is not just what Tyler Robinson allegedly did, but how investigators learned so much about it. That trail leads back to the person he lived with, his roommate. Reports indicate that Robinson's roommate was the first to provide law enforcement with crucial digital messages. These exchanges, taken from Discord, showed Robinson describing where he left the rifle, how it had been wrapped, and other details that lined up with what investigators later discovered. Without this cooperation, those words might never have seen the light of day. It's important to note, though, that the roommate has strongly denied knowing anything about the planned attack before it happened. According to publicly available reports, they said they had no advance warning and were not part of any preparation. Instead, they turned over the messages only after the incident, once it became clear to them that those conversations could be critical to the investigation. For many observers, this detail raises important questions. Was the roommate completely in the dark about Robinson's intentions? Did the messages seem suspicious at the time, or only in hindsight once the shooting took place? These are the kinds of questions investigators are continuing to examine even now. Still, one fact is undeniable. The roommate's cooperation has been vital in building the state's case. By handing over messages directly tied to Robinson's alleged actions, they essentially became a bridge between Robinson's private digital life and the public legal process. In the courtroom, this could weigh heavily, especially if prosecutors argue that Robinson's words match the physical evidence found at the scene. At the same time, this has sparked debate online and in the media. Some people see the roommate as a key ally of law enforcement, someone who helped uncover the truth. Others wonder whether they should have recognized red flags sooner. As of now, though, there is no evidence suggesting the roommate was involved in the planning or execution of the crime. This duality of being both close to the suspect yet also cooperating with investigators makes the roommate one of the most complex figures in this unfolding story. With Tyler Robinson now in custody, the case is far from over. Investigators are still piecing together the timeline of events, from how the weapon was obtained to when the inscriptions were made on the bullet casings to what Robinson may have shared privately in the days leading up to the incident. Every detail matters because prosecutors will need to prove not only what happened, but also intent. One ongoing question surrounds the motive. While Robinson's online posts and the inscriptions found at the scene suggest certain ideological leanings, authorities have stopped short of confirming this as the sole explanation. They are working to determine whether this was driven by political frustration, personal struggles, or a mix of factors. Until that answer is clear, the motive remains an open subject and perhaps one of the most compelling parts of the case. Meanwhile, public reaction has been intense. Supporters of Charlie Kirk have demanded swift justice, while others across the political spectrum are watching closely to see how the justice system handles such a high-profile crime. News outlets, social media users, and community members in Utah and beyond continue to weigh in, sharing their views on both the crime and the broader climate it reflects. The involvement of Robinson's roommate has only added more complexity to the conversation. For some, it highlights the importance of cooperation with investigators in moments of crisis. For others, it raises tough questions about when private conversations cross the line into potential evidence. Online forums, opinion columns, and community discussions show that people are divided, not about whether the act itself was shocking, but about what it represents in the bigger picture. Is this an isolated event, or is it a symptom of deeper divides playing out across the country? For now, the investigation continues with no clear timeline for resolution. What is certain, however, is that each new detail, whether forensic, digital, or testimonial, will be scrutinized not just in court, but also in the court of public opinion. As we reach the end of this report, one thing is clear. The case of Tyler Robinson and the tragic loss of Charlie Kirk has left an indelible mark on both Utah and the nation. What began as a shocking act has grown into an investigation filled with layers of evidence, unanswered questions, and conversations that reach far beyond the courtroom. We've walked through Robinson's background, his arrest, the DNA links, the digital messages, and the surprising involvement of his roommate. Each of these details brings us closer to understanding the how, but the bigger question remains the why. And right now, that answer still hangs in the balance. Authorities have not yet provided a definitive motive, and perhaps they won't until the trial begins. But what we do know is that cases like this remind us of how important it is to stay engaged, to ask tough questions, and to demand accountability from all sides. Whether it's in our schools, communities, or online spaces, tragedies like this are never just about one day or one act. They ripple out, sparking debates and challenging us to reflect on the world we live in. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think about this case? Do you believe the messages Robinson sent really expose the full motive? Or do you think there's more that investigators haven't revealed yet? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't just tell me what you think. Let us know where you're watching from, because this conversation is bigger than one city, one state, or even one country. Before you go, please make sure to like this video if you found it informative, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share it with others who are following this case closely. Your support helps us continue to bring you breaking updates, thoughtful analysis, and stories that matter. This case is still unfolding, and every new development could change the picture entirely. Stay tuned, because we'll be here to cover every step as it happens.